Am I the asshole for telling my mum that my sister was a better mother than her? I, 17, was born when my sister Ari was already 18. She stayed at home until I was 10 doing her university and masters. So my parents obviously spoiled me because I was the miracle boy. But I always remember that it was Ari who taught me to be polite, chew with my mouth closed, how to be clean even, and be nice and all stuff like that. It was so much better when she'd make food than my mum. I remember when I was 9 that she and her boyfriend, husband now, took me to the park. Someone asked if I was her son, and she said close enough, and when I asked later on what she meant, she said that I was their practice baby. But when she left, and she's stayed gone. I've seen her a few times since. Like there was her wedding, my other sister's wedding, and just functions like that. Point is, in those 10 years, she kept me from being the spoiled brat my mum and dad were definitely turning me into, so even if she didn't want to see me in the last 7 years, I am still grateful. So, university applications are being filled out, and I want to do software engineering at Waterloo. My mum wants me to stay local. Yesterday, it turned into a big family Zoom meeting where Ari was involved. She said if staying with family was an issue, her family was moving to Kitchener and her husband had heard and he'd piped up, saying he'd love it if I could stay with them. I thought that was cool because I'd finally get to see them again and meet my niece, but my mum said no, you were not going. So I got really mad and I asked why not. She said you're going to need your mother when you start university. That made me angrier, and I said before Ari left, she was a better mum to me than you anyway. That didn't go well since my mum ran to her room to cry, so I couldn't see. My dad said that I was being ungrateful, and my sister, not Ari, told me to stop being an asshole. So, I don't know. I'm gonna go with not the asshole for this one because, I don't know, that just seems kind of out of the blue and manipulative of your mum to go crying. I can see why she would be hurt from that comment, but I also can see why you would be hurt that they're trying to keep you from going to college. You're of age to go and make your own decisions, and here they are guilt-tripping you to stay with them instead. What, you don't need your mother if you're going to university, in fact. Many people do fine without their mother, and they don't have them also running to their rooms crying and guilt-tripping them. So I'm gonna go not the asshole for this one. And now in the comments, not the asshole. I'm going to guess that your sister is keeping her distance for reasons that have nothing to do with you and everything to do with your parents. I would recommend some damage control. Apologize to your mum, but make it clear to her that the decision about where to go for university should not be based on a boy needing his mother, but about what is best for you and your education. You are going to be legally an adult after all. This would totally be the vibe that I got too, if not for the park thing though. Like, okay, maybe telling a stranger close enough when asking if OP is her kid, I can kind of see, but then telling OP that they are her practice baby is kinda off. I could be totally off base, but I get the feeling that there's also some other stuff going on that OP isn't aware of where their mum may have reasons to not favor the arrangement either. Don't get me wrong, the mum's immediate "you'll need your mum" comment isn't great either, but I just don't think OP has the full picture of the overall dynamic. It's not unheard of for a baby from a teenage parent to be passed off as a younger sibling instead. I'm not saying that that's what's happened here, but the age gap would be right, and it would explain both Ari's comment and his mum's reaction. It's unlikely nowadays, but not impossible. Famous examples, Jack Nicholson's older sister was actually his biological mother, and his mother was actually his grandmother. He had no idea about this until the 70s, after both women were dead. And OP says, just saw this, it's not what's happened here. I've seen photos of my mum pregnant with me, and have seen the video they took after I was born. To be honest, I figured it was pretty unlikely. It's the sort of thing that would be a lot harder to hide nowadays. Plus, less social pressure to hide it. Plus, several of your other comments mentioned having a couple of sisters in between you and Ari. I got the impression that Ari was parentified and did more raising than maybe even you realize, especially when you were a baby. Obviously, she probably doesn't want to be near your parents, but maybe she needed space from you because she was forced to raise you and didn't want to resent you for it. No assholes here. Call Ari in private and talk this out. It sounds like she 1, knows how your parents can be, and 2, can help you figure out what to do. It sounds like you should plan on going to her place for uni. The mother is very much an asshole here for trying to take away a wonderful opportunity from OP for completely stupid, non-valid reasons. I'm Asian, and I'm totally getting Canadian Chinese vibes from this family right now and can relate. And OP says, was it that obvious? Clues like you being the miracle boy, huge age difference from older sister, your sister living nearby for uni, and that your parents want to keep you near. You will likely find that they want you to look after them when they are old. I'm half Korean and half Caucasian, and my mom, Korean, blew up at me for wanting to go to university a couple states away. She wanted me to remain local. Probably the only reason that I'm able to go to the university that I'm at now is because my dad, Caucasian, stepped in and supported me in that. I totally get the situation you're in. I wish the best for ya, and also not the asshole. And now onto the update. So I've gotten a lot of DMs, so I'm updating because people seem to be really worried. Pretty much, when my mum came to my room to talk to me about what I said, I'd already decided that I was going to apologize. You guys made it clear that I needed to do that much. She asked if I meant what I said about Ari being a better mum than her, or if I just said it to hurt her. It is true. I said it was because I was upset that she doesn't want me to go, so I just said that and apologized. We hugged, and she said that we would talk about it later. What I said to my mum did work its way through my sisters. It went from Isla to Sarah, and from Sarah to Ari. I got a FaceTime from Ari where she reminded me that she taught me that it was wrong to lose my temper like that, but with my mum, she gets it. She seemed proud when I said I apologized. I wanted to say thanks for all that she did for me, but it felt wrong over FaceTime. She did tell me that she's planning on having the whole family over to her new house in Kitchener after they move for my niece's birthday. She made it clear that if I get into Waterloo, I'm staying with her or coming over as much as I can. Now, here's where it gets wacky. My mum's cousin, who is like the head of that side of the family, found out what happened. He wasn't on the Zoom because he's really busy. He found out and scolded my mum and went on about how great a school Waterloo is and how selfishly she is holding me back and how she's trying to keep me as her baby forever. Isla eavesdropped on the whole thing and told me everything our uncle said to mum. It honestly makes me wonder if things between Ari and me are like what happened between my mum and him. So, my mum told me she was wrong about Waterloo and I had her support to stay with Ari. She told me her permission means that I have to call her every night, text good morning every morning, no partying, no girlfriends, be a good uncle, and treat Ari with respect. And I got into Waterloo's engineering, and we went to Ari's new home for my niece's birthday party and spring break in March. I tried to tell Ari and her husband how I feel, and how thankful I am for how Ari raised me, but I blubbered and couldn't say anything. And she just pulled me in and hugged me and kissed me on the forehead like non-stop for minutes while kinda crying. Then gave me such a tight hug and said that I'd always be their first son. My brother-in-law took me to Waterloo and it is so cool. My niece's birthday party was also great. She is so cute. I told Ari that I'd be willing to babysit, but she strictly told me my only priority would be my studies. When we left, Ari gave me a huge hug and said she couldn't wait for me to come. So, thank you guys for all your support and advice. And now in the comments, that's great that you are pursuing what you want and reconnecting with your sister, but your mother's demands are ridiculous. Coming from parents very similar, I'd advise you play along now, but start making boundaries when you go to college. Soon you will be an adult, you will have a job and responsibilities that may not allow for constant communication with your mother. You may make meaningful and/or romantic connections with other people that you'll want to pursue. That is natural. Your parents won't handle it well, but as time goes on, it should get easier. I wish you the best. No drinking, partying, or girlfriends, and you have to text every morning and call every night? That's insane, in the most overbearing way possible. Get yourself a text message automator to text good morning and good night every day. They exist out there. Or just tell mum no. Learning how to establish and enforce healthy boundaries is an important skill to know as an adult. The no dating thing is such an Asian mum thing, and they also will turn around and ask their 28-year-old son who has never dated anyone why he isn't married yet. Right? My parents kept reminding me throughout high school and college, no dating, but right after graduation, they asked if I was going to get married soon. They were confused when I said, to who? There is no one. My parents made me break up with my first girlfriend in college, and after college, they had the audacity to ask me if I have a girl in mind for marriage. I am still beyond mad. This is remarkably good communication for what I thought was going to be a shit show. I'm glad everything turned out so well, and no bridges seem to be burned. None at all. The way the whole family communicates and handles problems is impressive. Opie got the best older sister anyone could wish for. Our next post is titled, My mum lied to me, and my real dad, late 30s, just showed up for the first time. Sorry if this is incoherent, but my mind is racing right now. My dad died when I was 8 years old. Well, the man who I thought was my dad did. My mum dated other men, but she has never remarried or had a serious live-in boyfriend, so I've basically been without a dad since I was 8. But earlier today, this man came into my work. I work at a movie theater in the concession stand, by the way, so this man came in and kept letting people go ahead of him in line until I was done helping the customer that I was with. I didn't think anything at first, but this guy was kinda nervous but trying to talk to me. He asked what I recommended to eat and asked what kind of movies I liked. He seemed friendly but shy, and I was just being polite and making conversation like we're supposed to with customers. Anyways, he paid and left, and I didn't see him when his movie finished, 'cause it was busy. Or maybe he didn't even watch a movie. I don't know. Anyway, I got off work a little bit ago, and when I got home, that same man was in my living room talking to my mom, and it kinda creeped me out, and my mom started panicking when I asked who he was. And she just kept saying he's no one, he's leaving. But the man said that he wasn't leaving until we talked, and said she needs to tell me the truth. Well, you can guess from the title, he said he's my dad. I just felt this twist in my stomach. My mom started rambling, saying my dad that died was my real dad, and how much he loved me and took care of me, and that this doesn't change that. The thing is, something happened last year that made me question my mom about my dad and my medical history. She said she didn't know anything about it, but today I just yelled at her that she could have told me then and there that he wasn't my biological father, but she didn't. I asked if this man was telling the truth, and she just started crying and nodding. I guess I didn't notice at the theater, because it was never something that I would even think of, but looking at him, it's pretty clear that we are related since he looks so much like me. Or I guess I look like him is more accurate. He tried to talk to me and swore he never knew that I existed or he would have been in my life. My mom didn't deny any of this, and I asked her if this man was dangerous or an abusive ex or something. He was offended, and she assured me that it wasn't that at all. She wanted to sit down and talk, but I just felt so nauseous and overwhelmed, so I just grabbed my keys and told my mom that I was staying at my best friend Josh's house for the night. I came here, and Josh was sympathetic and let me vent. But he fell asleep, and now I'm just here awake, and my brain won't shut off. I feel so betrayed by my mom. How could she not tell the truth? When I was little, I understand, but I'm old enough to know where I come from. It feels so unfair that she denied me a father for half my life. I loved my dad that died, and I still miss him, but I've wanted a father for so long. There is so much I've gone through where I feel like having a dad would have been so much better and easier. I love my mom, and she's been incredible in raising me, but it's not the same as having a dad. Especially when this guy is my actual dad, and it seems like he would have been there if he knew. I don't know what to say to him, or to my mom. I know I have to go home eventually, but I just don't know what I'm supposed to say or do. He probably hates me and thinks I'm a crybaby because I cried and stormed out. I feel lost. I'm just gonna have to stop you there, OP. I don't think he's gonna think you're a crybaby. It's weird that you would put that on yourself and think that. Obviously, he's very emotional. Obviously, you're very emotional right now. Your mum has lied by omission and never told you that you actually had a different father out there. If anything, you should be directing all your anger and upset at her and not at him for this one. And I don't think in any way he would think you're a crybaby. I think, this is a lot to be going through. It's understandable that you're upset. But let's see what the comments have to say. First of all, your emotions are valid. This is a lot, and I'm not the one going through it. I think you should hear your mom out whenever you decide to go back home. She has to have some kind of explanation, whether if it was what was best at the time or not, and at the same time, it's okay to be upset at her. You can't have that time back with your dad, but I hope that everything eventually will work out, and you get the explanation and honesty that you deserve. Take all the time you need, whether it's forgiving your mom, or maybe having a relationship with your dad, but if he wants to be a part of your life, that is also on you if you want that. I'm so sorry that you're going through this. And OP says, thank you. She's my mom and I still love her. I'll always love her. I really want to believe she has a good reason for not telling me, and I want a relationship with my dad. Or at least I want to have a real talk with him and see how it goes after. I wonder if your dad, who died when you were 8, went to his grave thinking you were his biological child. Yeah, this is a concern. Was OP's mum married to the original dad, cheated with bio dad, and now faces with owning up to what happened? Your dad will understand. I hope you and your dad make up for lost time. And OP says, thank you, I hope so too. I really hope I didn't ruin it with that first impression. You didn't ruin anything. You were blindsided, mate. Really pulling for things to go your way. Right now, you and your biological dad are dealing with years of being lied to, and you are both hurting. I don't know why your mum hid the truth. Hopefully you'll find that out too. You have a person out there who says that he didn't know that you existed, and would have been there for you all these years if he had known. He missed his child's first word, first step, school, all those things that dads love to be a part of, and he's feeling guilty for something that is not his fault. That he wasn't there for you all these years. I hope you can get to know your bio dad and have a good relationship with him. You've been given a gift, a chance to find out more about your ancestry and to have a fuller family than you did before. Good luck and be in peace. And now onto the update. I know I didn't reply to any comments after the first few hours that my original post was up. I woke up the next morning and saw a bunch of new comments, and though I didn't reply, I did read all of them, good and bad. I appreciate all the advice given and kind words spoken, but like many people suggested, the only thing I could really do was talk to the both of them to figure out what the real story was. So I went home and talked to my mom. I was much calmer, with a clearer head, and was ready to hear what she had to say. I probably learned more than anyone should ever have about their own conception. Turns out my father really isn't an abusive ex. My mum didn't cheat on my adoptive dad or anything shady like that. I'm just the product of a one-night stand. My mum said that she went out drinking by herself at a bar and met my dad, who was celebrating his 25th birthday alone. She said she had just been dumped by her fiancé, not my adoptive dad, different man, a week before that because she had learned from her doctor that it was virtually impossible for her to have children naturally. She said her and my dad used a condom, and yet somehow she still got pregnant with me, and I'm her miracle baby considering the circumstances. She went back to the hotel that he took her to after she found out she was pregnant, but they couldn't find any info on my dad ever staying there. He didn't give her his actual first name, which is explained in more detail later in post. She said this was before social media was a thing, so she couldn't just search him online like we can do nowadays. So she decided that she would just raise me on her own. She also admitted that she just panicked when my bio dad showed up, because to her, he was literally just a guy she knew for one night 17 years ago. She didn't really know who he was now, or if he was going to try to get custody of me, or if I was going to want to run away with him or something. She admits she would have been calmer from the beginning, and maybe we could have all talked it out and sorted it out that night, but I don't blame her for it. As for my adoptive dad, the man that raised me, she said she didn't meet him until I was almost 2. They got married when I was 3. He officially adopted me after they got married. She showed me the adoption certificate. Reflecting on it now, I realize I've never seen pictures of he and I when I was a baby, just pictures of me as a toddler and up. She said he accepted me as his own and loved me and being a father to me. I told her my bio dad showing up doesn't rewrite history. I'll never not see my adoptive dad as my father. If anything, it makes me love him even more that he treated and loved me as his own flesh and blood. I also ended up talking to my dad. He left his number, which my mum gave to me. We met up for lunch. He confirmed my mum's whole story. I gave him crap about using a fake name, and it wasn't so cut and dry. He said he goes by his middle name, which is what he told her that night. He showed me his business card, which does have the name he told my mum that night, and I've since looked him up, using the name that he gave my mum, which nowadays he is very easy to find with it, and his entire online presence uses his middle name. He has comments on Facebook from his friends and family calling him that name going back years. Apparently, he only goes by his actual first name for legal and business reasons, like checking into a hotel. He said that night he was depressed that his best friend didn't live to celebrate their 25th birthday together, as they had the same birthday. And that's why he drove to our town to get away from everyone and everything back home for a night. He apologized 1,000,000 times, and said that he would have been in my life if he had known, especially because I inherited a medical condition from him, and it really sucked dealing with that, and having to learn to adjust to it alone. He was diagnosed with it when he was 19, so he knew what I went through. I could tell he genuinely felt awful about it. I asked him how he even found out about me, and apparently he has a son who is only 5 months younger than me. So his ex-wife, son's mum, is a teacher, and she saw a picture that my school's website posted of the academic team that I'm on. She had sent it to my dad, thinking I might be related to him because we look so alike. He said he has a brother that he hasn't spoken to in over 20 years, so they both initially thought that I could be his nephew, but he found my Instagram, which is public, and he said when he saw a picture of me and my mum on it, he instantly recognized her, and he knew that I was his. And I know people will ask, but no, he did not cheat on his ex-wife with my mum. He didn't meet her until a couple months after that night with my mum, and he even admitted that they only got married because she got pregnant early in the relationship, and they're divorced now because they're not actually compatible. He offered proof, and to even call her himself right there to confirm, but I told him it wasn't necessary. He had visited my mum earlier that day that he visited me at work, and confirmed with her, even though he already knew between my face and the math lining up. But he said he went to the movie theater anyway, because even though he had seen pictures of me, he said that he had to see me for himself in person. He said we still need to do a DNA test to establish paternity, and so he can add me on his insurance. But between our faces, my birth date, and us having the same rare medical condition, it's obvious he's my dad. Even the waitress made a nonchalant comment about us being father and son. He asked if we could start having visits to get to know each other, and of course I said yes. I want to know him. Even though I still feel some anger at him, and I don't really know even exactly why to be honest, I want to have him in my life. My mum said that I can't go to his house for Christmas or even at all, he lives an hour away, until she feels comfortable with me leaving to visit him, but she said that he can come visit on Christmas night and we'd go from there. At the end of lunch, I brought out my debit card to pay my half of the meal, and I didn't really know what the etiquette is for a first lunch with a bio parent as a teenager. He just laughed and said I'm his son and I don't ever have to pay for anything when I'm with him. I don't know why, but that made me feel really good. And then he made a joke about owing my mum 17 years of child support anyway, which really just eased the whole situation. He walked with me to my car and gave me a hug, which made me start crying. I know it's cringy, and I was embarrassed that I was crying in the middle of a diner parking lot, but I just felt an instant connection with him when he hugged me, even though he's still basically a stranger to me. He said some stuff to me while he was hugging me, and just let me cry for a couple of minutes. It's still early, I know, but I can just tell that he's a good man. Regardless of who he was when he met my mum, and whatever happened that night, I mean, he sought me out after learning about me, so that has to count for something, right? He could have pretended that he never saw my Instagram, or even after talking to my mum and her sending him away. or after meeting me at the movie theater, or after I stormed out when he came to talk to me that same night. He had so many chances to walk away, but he didn't give up. That shows me that he really does want to have a relationship with me. Anyway, now my issue is scrambling to find him a last-minute Christmas present. I have no idea what to get him. He's a lawyer, so from what I could tell Googling him and the address that he gave me, he's rich. He probably has everything he already wants. If anyone has any ideas what a man in his early 40s would want or be able to make use of as a Christmas gift, I would love some suggestions. And now in the comments, pictures of you from your childhood. Make copies and his own photo album. This was what I was going to say. Maybe add a bio of childhood with schools attended and any achievements. Also, maybe just like basic information so he gets to know who you are, like favorite color, small things like that. Favorite thing to do, favorite vacation ever taken, etc. And OP says, I like this idea. I don't know if it would come out very good since I only have a few days to put it together, but would it be a good idea to do this and then leave some pages empty and ask if we could fill those ones out together with new memories? Absolutely do that. That would make his day so much better to know that you want to create memories together like that. And OP says, I will. I told my mom and she said that it's a great idea and she's going to help me choose some pics. I just have to go buy a photo album and make copies of some pictures tomorrow, but I think it's completely doable in time for Christmas. Dude, you have a brother. And OP says, yeah, and we're practically the same age, which is kinda weird, but exciting. My dad said that he hasn't told him about me yet. He wants Christmas night to just be me and him, since my half-brother will be at his mum's house, and so do I, to be honest. I don't know if I could handle trying to get to know 2 new family members at once. It's kinda nerve-wracking enough already with just my dad. My favorite part of all of it was when OP started crying in his dad's arms. Not because I take joy out of a teenager's difficulties, but because I feel like he was so factual throughout the initial post and update that you couldn't get a real emotional read on him. To hear him feeling so overwhelmed really showed how much this meant to him, and it made me all the more happy for him, and the wonderful way that this turned out for both him and the dad. I really hope they continue to grow their relationship and that they continue making wonderful memories. I hope people told him on his original post that crying was nothing to be embarrassed about. It made sense that he was emotional, and that's a good thing. Men are allowed to cry. I was so glad his bio dad supported and held him when he cried. No toxic masculinity garbage. Honestly, sounds like mum hit it out of the park for a guy to have a one-night stand with. Just a shame times were different and she couldn't find him, because he sounds like a stand-up guy that would have been emotionally and financially supportive. Alright, and that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.